Welcome to Enlightenment with Julian, your gateway to a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. In each episode, Julian delves into the essence of wisdom and self-esteem, offering insights and messages to inspire your growth. Now, here's your host, Julian, to guide you on this transformative journey towards living your best life.
Hello there, everyone. I hope y'all are doing well today. I'm feeling great today because today, folks, is a very special day. I like to celebrate something very important, a milestone, if you will, for this podcast. Whether you're a new listener or a loyal one that's been listening since the very beginning. I also have a bit of a smaller surprise for you, but you have to stay tuned to the end to see it. Now, the first thing I like to announce is, drumroll please, the podcast has reached its 10th episode. That's right, folks. We just hit our 10th episode on this podcast. I also want to celebrate the growth of this podcast, actually, because recently we just hit 31 followers on Spotify, 61 followers on Instagram, 22 on TikTok, 10 subscribers on YouTube, and I'm just honestly happy. You all really enjoy my content and what I have to say. And to that, I just want to take the time to say thank you. I also want to reward you with this Enlightenment podcast special. A couple of weeks ago, I released a challenge, and it was basically to tell me a moment from your life where you had a bit of a challenge or some difficulty and how you overcame that challenge. I was not expecting to get that much submissions from you all, but you all are fantastic. You all are wonderful. And I just want to say thank you for sending me your stories. And due to how lengthy some of these stories are, I decided to make a new segment on Enlightenment Podcast. It'll be where once a month I read your messages that you send me and I respond to you without a script, and you'll have a raw response from yours truly. Hopefully you all enjoy the stories, and I hope that these stories can resonate with you and can give you not just a way to overcome things, but an idea that you are not alone in this world and that we all face struggles in our lives. But before we start, make sure you follow or subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast, rate it on Spotify, and I challenge you to share this podcast to at least 5 people you know and tell them to listen to at least one episode and tell them to do the same. I want to see how many followers that we can get by, at least May 16th. Why May 16th? I don't know. It seems random. With that being said, I'll read at least 5 or 6 short stories and really give my raw response to these stories. Let's get into what I like to call enlightening stories. Now, note, in order to keep up with my promise of confidentiality, and I am going to try to keep these names vague as possible by having these names fake. These are fake names. These aren't the real people names. They're fake. They're phony. They're not real. Okay? Okay. Now, unless if the person was close to me, I am going to use their title. Like, for example, let's say this story came from my older sister. I'm not going to tell her name or say her name, but I will say that this is from my sister or my dad or my uncle or something like that, if that makes any sense. Now, let's get into the story. The first enlightening story comes from James. He says, my most challenging moment would be trying to pass junior year of high school because I was really terrible in algebra and that shit was stressful as fuck. I almost failed it, actually, and I thought I was going to have to retake it for senior year. But I literally studied, which is crazy because I don't be studying like that. But it was a rewarding experience once I actually was able to pass. Now, first of all, James, congratulations for getting over your struggles with math in junior year. Because, mind you, I actually took Algebra 2, honors Algebra 2 in junior year of high school. And I'm going to be honest with you, James. I suck at math. I am not the greatest at math, all right? When it comes to like basic math, like adding, multiplying, subtracting, dividing, this, that, and the third, yeah, I can do that. But when it comes to like fractions or trying to find the what's one of those math terms, the congruent, or it's something involving triangles. I don't know. I just know that I'm not good at math. And I would nearly fail some of the tests because, again, math is complex to me. It doesn't register in my brain. Now, if you ask me something about history, I can do that easy peasy. But the thing is, I knew deep down I could do more. I knew that I could better myself because, yeah, I wasn't the greatest when it comes to mathematics. All right, I wasn't the brightest bulb in the pack when it came to solving something involving algebra. But I knew that I was determined, and I was really hoping that I put myself out there and get the help I needed, which I did. Every morning, before school starts, we would, like me and some of my classmates, we would like go to like a teacher for help in the morning, before we really get our classes started. And I was like one of the first people there to see my math teacher and ask for her help and ask her questions. And that actually paid off because by the end of this school year, I finally finished Honors Algebra 2 with an A in her class. And it says a lot because the thing is, it shows that it takes a lot of failure, a lot of error, but also a lot of determination to take a challenge, and take it head on and see yourself on top and see yourself win at the end. Sometimes we as people, we need a struggle in our lives in order to reach that sense of salvation. Whether it's a physical struggle or a mental or emotional struggle that we may face in life. And I feel like that's important to really note because, again, we may go through hard times, but it's that resilience and that determination that gets us through those hard times. Our next story comes from Jane. She states that, I think it would be how I stopped being friends with someone I knew in middle school. They were my best friend and we did everything. We had chemistry, but later down the line, I saw how toxic they were becoming, talking bad about everyone, and I had to cut ties with them. They were trying to call out a friend of mine at the time about how mean they were towards them and tried to make an excuse. Because of their actions that weren't justified at the time, they kept dragging me and I had to stop them. It was in the staircase, I was in the bottom and they were in the top, and I told them how wrong they were and stood up. Jane, I'm really sorry that your friend did that to you. That honestly sounds awful. However, I also want to point out that sometimes in life we do have those type of people who wear a mask and shield their true intentions from you in order to serve their own benefit, if that makes any sense. However, we also shouldn't be deterred by that. Because the thing is, because of that one person, we shouldn't allow that one person to determine whether we should discover new people or engage and find new friends, especially when you end things. And I'm also happy that you stood up for yourself rather than allow anyone like that friend that you had to dictate you and curb your opportunities in trying to be happy. In fact, in my last episode, Jane, I don't know why I keep saying it's just me that be doing this podcast, but I talked about seeing the red flags in people. And the thing is that one of the methods in seeing the red flags is if they disrespect your boundaries. Because the thing is, it's important to set boundaries for yourself, even for people that are your friends. And if those people that you call friends, if they constantly overstep and disrespect your boundaries, in my personal opinion, I think when it comes to people or what you decide to call friends, if they continue to overstep your boundaries and not respect your space or anything like that, I think you should cut them off. Because my thing is this: if they are really your friends, why are they constantly disrespecting not just your boundaries, but you as a person? Why should you be friends with someone that doesn't respect you or your limits for them? Because the thing is this: you want to ensure your own comfort. You should not sacrifice your own comfort for other people. If you know you don't feel comfortable doing this, then say it. Make sure that it's clear to them that, hey, I don't want to do this. I don't like doing this. I don't feel comfortable doing this. Because if anything, you're telling them how you feel. And if they cannot respect how you feel, then why even have them around in your life? If anything, this hurts you because you're allowing them to still partake in your life and still disrespect you by not respecting those boundaries that you have with people. And I'll admit, I have my limits with people too. When I tell people, hey, look, I don't mind you doing this thing, all right? I don't mind you making fun of me at my expense. Just, tone it down a little bit. Take it down a notch. Because my thing is this: if you're just there to constantly make fun of me, then why should I be around that type of negative energy? Because the thing is this: I poke fun of myself. I don't mind poking fun of myself. But the thing is, and also, I don't mind other people poking fun at me. But my thing is this: if you just make that as your habit and your own personality, eventually I'm just going to get tired of dealing with you, and I'm just going to move on with my life and find other people that will respect me for me, that respect my feelings, that respect my boundaries, and respects how I feel as a person. Because the thing is, if you're not going to respect me as a person and respect how I feel about things, why should I still have you in my life? Why? And this is friend-wise, by the way. Why should I have that type of friend or that type of person in my life when I know that they're just hurting me, that they're not really being nice to me, that they're treating me poorly? If anything, I should stand up for myself and put my foot down, to give them an ultimatum, perhaps, and say, hey, look, I get it. You and I are cool, but I'm sick and tired of these jokes, okay? They're nothing but repetitive, they're rude, and they're just annoying, all right? I don't mind us poking fun at each other now and again. But if you're just going to make that your hobby, then I don't want to be your friend. All right? I have too much self-respect to know when to stop being someone's friend. And that's when someone is not respecting my boundaries or not respecting me as a person. And I think you should take that into consideration, Jane. So that way, whenever you deal with that again or deal with something similar to that in the future, you could stand up for yourself. And just like how you did before, and just say, hey, look, you seem cool and all, but I want you to respect my boundaries. And if you can't do that, get out of my life. I don't want you here. I don't want you in my life if you're not going to respect me or my boundaries. Please, leave. The door's right over there. But, yeah. I think at least take that into consideration when it comes to meeting new people and if they respect you enough to do that. Our next story is from my lovely, lovely mother. And Mom, if you're listening to this podcast, hi, I love you. So I just want to also say thank you for contributing your story, Mom. My mother writes, one of my biggest challenges was losing my father, my grandfather. Like her father, my grandfather. I pray a lot to not be consumed with sadness and depression. I meditate, and I was inspired by my son, me. Although he was young at the time, even then, he was wise beyond his years. So blessed to have my son who continues to motivate me. Love you so much, Julian. Keep the candle burning. Just to put this on the record, I'm not laughing at your story, Mom. I'm not. I'm just laughing at the fact that this is someone that I know and personally, and the fact that you kind of put that bit at the end and kind of boosted up my self-confidence a little bit. But yeah, thank you, Mom. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. But I just want to also say, for the most part, and not just for the most part, just in general, thank you for addressing your story and telling me your story. And not only that, I'm also proud of you. I know it sounds weird that your own son is saying that he's proud of his mom, but the thing is, it's supposed to be the other way around sometimes, where the parent's supposed to be like, oh, I'm proud of you, son, keep going, something like that. But hear me out. I'm proud of you, my mom, because she was willing to try to find an outlet, like prayer and meditation, to help cope with the loss of my grandfather, her father, and how she relied on certain things to keep her going. Sometimes we as people rely on certain coping mechanisms to keep us calm and to bring down that level of rage or sadness sometimes. To not allow stress and all the negative energy and emotions to impact not just our day or our week or our month, year, but our lives as a whole. Sometimes we may need to do some deep breathing or take a walk to distract ourselves and to ease our mind from all the stress in life. I also want to compliment my mom for using me as an inspiration. Now, this isn't to fuel my ego or my self-confidence or anything, all right? If anything, I can relate to her. I can relate to my mom saying she saw me as an inspiration to keep herself going. Sometimes I use my little sister as a way to motivate myself, to inspire myself to keep going in life and to push forward, to progress and to evolve from where I once was as a person. Sometimes our families are the driving factors that keeps us motivated in life and to excel in what we do. And I get where my mom is coming from. I totally get that. And Mom, if you're still listening, which I wouldn't be surprised, you love me so much, and I love you too. I would just want to tell you that even though Pop, my grandfather, your dad, even though he's gone, I know that he'd be proud to see how far you came and how much change you've made to better yourself. And that I'm proud of you. I'm proud that you've came this far and you worked so hard to better yourself as a person, whether it's emotionally and mentally, spiritually. I'm just happy for you, Mom, and I'm just proud of you. And I'm sure Pop would have wanted us to keep going, and he loves the both of us, and he's happy for the both. So, yeah, thank you again for telling me your story, Mom, because not only does this allow your voice to be heard, but it also allows other people who has gone through that similar experience or who are just struggling in general to, again, relate and to feel like there's someone that they can relate to on this podcast, whether it's from me or telling the stories that you all sent to me. The next one up is Jack. He writes, "Hey, Julian." Hi, Jack. "A friend showed me your story and I wanted to share my own. Back in my first years of high school, I used to know a guy. This guy was wildly successful. He had lots of friends and was very smart in class. I wanted to try to get to know him, but he would always shoot me down. He'd always call me an asshat and dumb, and that made me feel really bad about myself. Over time, I figured I didn't really need someone like him, and so I went to confront him in class. He said the reason why he was always like that is because he was jealous of me. He actually thought I was cool. Moral of the story, never judge someone. They may like you more than you like them." First of all, Jack, wow. I'm honestly surprised. I just want to say congratulations to you for overcoming that challenge. And I'll admit, for someone like me, I would find it difficult to make amends with that type of person or that type of people, because the thing is, I'm typically not a person who's willing to forgive so easily, especially when you would insult me or like constantly, like degrade me and treat me poorly. I wouldn't forgive that easily. So that says a lot about you, Jack. So good job. Good job. Good job. I am impressed. But I also want to kind of track back and also point out that it's important that we as people understand the stories of other people. This is because there's always a reason why we as people do the things that we do, whether it's valid or it is completely wrong and immoral. If we get to understand why someone may do the things like bully someone, for example, we can really start to find some of the solutions to the root cause of the issue. Now, understand that bullying or lashing out at someone is only the symptom. But whatever is causing that animosity, that push to harm others or even themselves, that right there is the disease. We need to get to the root causes of the issue and give it the proper treatment to help cure and solve the problem rather than let it go untreated and have it spread to other people and encourage more bullying or more violence or more self-harm, or get infected to where it leads to a drastic measure for anyone or everyone that is being affected by this. Now, yes, we must understand people and the reasons to their actions and the things that they do. However, this does not give people the clearance or the justification to do those things against people. It doesn't. If anything, they should also be held accountable for their actions. You see, we need to have a balance between understanding and accounting for one's actions. Because if we don't do either, we are only allowing the issue to go unheard and to permeate. And we would fail to find a cure, a resolution to this issue. Our next story is from Jacob. Now, I'm just curious, just a side note. Are y'all Team Edward or Team Jacob? I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't make that joke. That is so 2006 or whatever Twilight came out. I have no clue. But anyway, he writes, I've been meaning to get something off my chest. There's a lot of challenging things in my life right now, and I think one of them is experiencing high school alone throughout my high school experience. It's been fun, but very stressful. And right now, in this current year, I feel afraid of moving on, and I don't really know how to accept that. I mean, I know that change is a part of life, but I feel so frustrated at myself for not accepting it. I have so much anger, so much hatred built inside of me that sometimes I take it out on my friends and I don't really mean to. The point where I have some sort of persona, kind of like a mask of fearfulness, of change, but not really. Because I'm going to be honest, I'm not ready for life at any point. But I think sharing my experience with you and the podcast made my fear of change go away. And I overcame that. I like to say to Jacob that I get how you feel, man. I know how scary change may be. Mind you, I was afraid to start high school. Funny enough, especially after we came back to in-person learning after COVID, I was just afraid because I didn't know what life had for me in high school. However, I was actually able to function and to navigate my way through high school and get where I am today. You see, we are so afraid of the unknown in the future or in life as it is currently in the present because we don't know what's in front of us. We are so blinded by what really is that unknown and what that unknown may have for us. Whether that unknown is a positive thing for us or a negative thing and will only hurt us. However, one thing you have to understand, Jacob, is that if we run in fear from that unknown, how can we really and truly face the world and whatever it can offer? To really get what we want and to make something out of not just the life we are living, but the limited time that we are given. If anything, tackling it head on and having the confidence can be the determining factor in what you do in this world. To really see what life has in store for people like you and me. If you allow your fears of change and the unknown to consume you, Jacob, you'd be hurting yourself and you become stagnant to where you can never progress in life. You should never allow your fears be the reason why you turn your back on your potential, your reasons to limit yourself and how high you can soar above everyone else who didn't achieve their dreams because they allowed fear to tell them what to do with their lives. I don't know what you want to do in this world, but I'll tell you this right now before I move on to the next story. In our lives, we have to step into the unknown in order to get our goals done. To really look back and say, I did it. I did that. I was so afraid to do that, but look at me now. I took that opportunity. I took that chance to do it. And you know why you could tell yourself that? Because you didn't allow your fear to control you, to command you, to dictate to you and who you can be in this life. Now I want you to go out there and keep achieving, my friend. I do not care how bumpy the road is, how hard it rains, how painful every misstep and fall you have. I want you to get back up and keep pushing, to keep going, and never let anyone, not even yourself, prevent you from succeeding. I want you or anyone that is listening to this podcast to always remember, keep your candle burning. Make it burn as bright and let that thing shine. Don't you dare allow anyone, even yourself, to put out that flame of passion, to put out that fire of hope, that flare of optimism. Because when you do, not only that flame is being extinguished, but your potential to achieve that burning passion to do the things that you want to do in life and get it done. Now you know why every time at the end of an episode of this here podcast, I say, keep the candle burning. We just hear too many stories of people who had dreams, who had goals, who had passion for things that they want to do and to flourish, all cut down or not followed through because they were afraid, because they allowed fear to manifest and to control them. They allowed fear to dictate their destiny in this. They didn't allow optimism, hope, courage, confidence, resilience, persistence, determination. They didn't allow those things to dictate their lives. They allow that sense of fear to dominate their lives, to tell them what to do, to ignore those hopes, those dreams, those ambitions, those goals. They allowed fear to snuff out that candle of hope and passion for the things that they wanted to do in life. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad. It makes me angry to see them to see that they had so much hope and so much going for themselves. They allow that fear to take away their confidence. And I don't want that to happen to you, Jacob, or anyone that's listening. And I want you to know that you are strong. You are resilient. And you can get through anything with that confidence, that persistence, and that resilience. It should take more than just failure or fear to tell you that you can't achieve. It should take more than just people telling you that you will not achieve and feel your fears of failure to tell you that you will make. beat those odds. Tell them otherwise. Show them otherwise that you can do it. And prove to them that they are wrong. So that way you can look at them and tell them that I did it. You told me all those things. But if anything, those were encouragement for me to prove you wrong. So thank you for telling me. With that being said, our last story for today's episode will be from Jody. Now, fair warning, this segment will talk about the topics of body image and eating disorders. If you do not feel comfortable, you can always skip forward into the episode or click a different one. That is completely fine with me, and more power to you. Remember, you are worthy and you matter in this world. If you decide to leave, I hope you can enjoy my other content, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of it. Thank you. Jody writes, I'd probably say an eating disorder has been one of my hardest psychological challenges I've ever faced. I guess. For my whole life, I've always been bigger, and I've always pretty much never been skinny, and I've always been made fun of for my weight. I struggled with bulimia, anorexia, and binge eating, all of which I felt like shit. I still repeatedly struggle, mostly with bulimia. Food has always been a weak spot for me, but I'm slowly trying to build a healthier relationship with it. I think it's important to show people that just because you feel something is wrong with you doesn't mean you should go to the extreme. To Jody, I just want to take the time and say, I'm sorry you've gone through. I just want you or anyone who can relate to her story or dealing with an insecurity that you are good enough. You may not feel like you're good enough, but you are good enough. You matter to people, and you should accept yourself just the way you are. If you feel like you want to better yourself, especially when it comes to the idea of your body or how you perceive yourself physically, I encourage that. As long as you can learn and you know to love yourself, and that you're doing it not for anyone else but for yourself. Because it's just like what you said. It's important to show people that just because you feel like something is wrong with you, it doesn't mean you have to go to the extreme. So I want you, no matter what size you are or who you see yourself as, no matter what insecurity you may have, I want you to love yourself for who you are and change yourself in a healthy and safe way because you want to. And if you are suffering from an eating disorder of any sort, I like to give you this phone number. This is from the ANAD, or the National Association of Anorexia Nervosa and Associated Disorders. They have a helpline for people who are suffering from eating disorders, and they are normally open between Monday and Friday, and the phone number for them is 888-375-7767. Again, that's 888-375-7767. Well, my friend, you have reached the end of this lovely discussion. I really do hope you love this new segment of Enlightenment, and I really do hope that I get more submissions. Because to me, with all these followers and subscribers, I know that every single one of you is your very own person with a captivating story to tell. Thankfully, this podcast is the outlet where you can share those stories, because it can help you not just get your voice heard, but it can also help other people who are also facing struggles similar to yours and my own struggles, whether it's insecurities, bullying, or loss or death, eating disorders. If you wish to DM me your stories, the Instagram, TikTok, they're all in the description. Your names will be confidential. And if I haven't read your story yet, do not worry, do not fret. They will be read and heard sometime near the future. I also like to announce that I have a new mascot for the podcast. If you check the social media like TikTok and Instagram, you'll notice a new image where it's basically a little figure, a little kid with like a high top, a wonderful smile, with a lumberjack fit, holding a candle. Yeah, that's the new mascot for the podcast. His name is Nick, and he's basically the second face to the podcast. Anyway, if you wish to continue our weekly talks on how to become a better version of yourself, my suggestion is to press the follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening to this fine podcast. And if you feel like someone could be in need to hear these words of wisdom, to steer them to the right path and the path of progress, and to make them feel empowered, informed, and inspired, why not share this podcast and its teaching to them? Until next time, on your journey, my friend, keep the candle burning.
Thank you for listening to Enlightenment with Julian Nicholas. We hope today's episode has sparked new insights and empowered you on your path to personal growth. For more inspiration and wisdom, be sure to subscribe and follow. Connect with Julian on Instagram at Enlightenment_pod. And if you found value in the show, please tell someone else. Join Julian next time as he continues his journey towards enlightenment. Until then, remember to embrace your journey and live your best life.